Hey, everybody, welcome on back to the Rubbin Racing Podcast with Spider and Large. We got Quiggs in the house. He was out last week. We had John Hunter sit in. Thank you so much, John Hunter. It was the first time we had a driver sit in for the whole episode, ad reads, all that kind of stuff. And I thought he did I thought he did a great job. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think, obviously that was a little all over the place with just kind of asking him stuff as it came into our mind. But John Hunter did a great job. He did a great job coming in here, chopping it up with us for an extended period of time. Most of these interviews we do are, around 30-ish minutes. And it was cool to have him. I kind of spent the day with him in Chicago. We went out to dinner. We went out for drinks after. So cool having him. And open invite if any other drivers want to stop by all means. We do have a couple obligations we're still sorting out. So, today you got Freddie Kraft, the winner of Bubba Wallace's crew or spotter, I guess. So we'll have Freddie rather on in just a couple minutes. But yeah, no, cool to have a wide variety of different guests, whether it be drivers, kind of drivers that are slept on, or even in this week's case, spotters. So we welcome anyone who's relevant to the sport.
Yeah, and as Spider said, like having Freddie on, he's going to be coming up in just a little bit. It's so weird that this sport, you can have podcasts that are focusing on the same thing and then you can kind of not cross promote, but he comes on here, no problem. So it's thank you to Door Bumper Clear or
Dirty Mo gave him the blessing to come on.
Yeah, Dirty Mo had to give him the special dispensation to come on. So we're looking forward to talking to our old friend Freddie. This podcast is brought to you by Body Armor Flash IV. Flash IV delivers faster, longer-lasting hydration with over 2,000 milligrams of electrolytes and no artificial dyes, flavors, or sweeteners like those of other drinks. So whether you're training, traveling, or just feeling the heat, work hard. Hydrate hard with Body Armor Flash IV and grab yours today at your local 7-Eleven's convenience store. And also by Blue Chew. Guys, enter the room dick first. Blue Chew isn't just a tablet, it's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting, like someone gave your downstairs a pep talk and a gym membership. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. This ain't a supplement, it's an erection resurrection. Guys, this isn't about performance. This is about legacy or third legacy. Give her group chat something to talk about. You know when you lay it down, they're talking about how it gets up. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use promo code Rubbin at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head to BlueChew.com for details and safety info. And big thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. All right, here we go. By the way, reading that ad last week
in front of John Hunter, he was dying.
He was like, what the fuck? I think he thought I wrote the copy, but whoever wrote the copy did a very good job. We got Moonhead in the house. Moonhead also joining us today. We got Jacob behind the ones and twos trying to put a tent over this whole fucking circus. How we doing, boys? I did not enjoy the race this weekend. The only part that I liked was like kind of watching Bubba and everybody react to it, but otherwise I wasn't too fond of the race. How we feeling? What do we think? What are the immediate reactions about what we saw in Indianapolis this past Saturday and Sunday?
So I got to give a little bit of context. I was traveling to the Barstool Classic Golf Tournament in Washington.
Oh, right.
So we flew into Spokane. The flight, unfortunately, did not have TVs. I couldn't watch. And then we drove through the mountains, very rural area. So I could really only catch bits and pieces of the race, unfortunately. And a little more context, I also gave Kyle Larson to win the race last week. That would have been, I think, 3 weeks in a row. With outright winners. So I very much wanted Larson. That being said, I was able to catch some of the end of the race, particularly the restarts, and I thought it was great. I know the first half of the race seemed pretty boring from what it sounded like online. I could see Twitter, but the second half, the restart, the finish, I thought was great, and obviously very happy with the result, seeing Bubba punch his ticket into the playoffs. So I'm probably not the guy to ask on a full weekend recap. But yeah, I did hit 2 pick sixes as well. So as much as I was rooting for Larson and was disappointed that he finished second, it was cool. And cashing those 2 pick sixes, we ended up in the green. And like I said, Bubba's an easy guy to root for. Happy to see him win.
I saw you hit Zillich too.
I hit Zillich.
Maybe off the record, but or not off, but like.
No, I don't think that was more of a spontaneous play. So I added Zillich on Saturday. That cashed and that was awesome. So Yeah, overall, great weekend. I got to see the Pacific Northwest, and I made some money off betting NASCAR. I would have loved to actually watch more of the race, but sometimes you just don't have those opportunities.
Life gets in the way. What you
That's
think,
right.
Quicks?
Spider kind of got it on the head, but yeah, slow start, but kind of as it went on, I enjoyed it. I'm a big fan of blocking. I think it's one of the more enjoyable parts of NASCAR to watch, and there's a lot of that. And then yeah, it's awesome to see Bubba win.
Moonhead, what's your score? 1 to 100.
Well, 1, I guess. I can't give it a 0.
Whoa.
I hate Indy. I'm an Indy hater, a NASCAR Indy hater, I should say. I love the Indy 500, but yeah, I haven't liked Indy in a long time, and that race sucked to me. I enjoyed the strategy at the end. That's the one good thing. If I had to say one good thing about NASCAR at Indy, is usually it's boring enough that it can lead to a crazy ending with all sorts of different strategies and stuff, like when Paul Menard won all those years ago, and there's been a few other upset winners there. But really, outside of that, I don't like Indy at all, and I did not enjoy that race. But
You're
like
just
Marge
saying
said,
that.
this-
You're just saying that because Catherine Legg finished 17th.
Unfortunately, she has proved me wrong a few times here lately. I do have to give her some credit. Her onboard of the green white checkered was kind of badass, her passing people on the outside at Indy. But yeah, I liked the Bubba storyline. That was cool, seeing everybody celebrate, seeing Bubba celebrate, see how much it meant to him. So that was cool. And I guess the history there and all that does matter to the drivers. So that's a cool aspect of it. But the race itself, I thought it sucked.
Let's stick with this. I always have terrible takes. Connor Zilic should stay in Xfinity for one more year. I backtracked on that last week. Should we remove Indianapolis from the schedule, Moonhead? Because again, like we saw 70 some odd thousand people in the stands, which is a nice number, is more than last year, but obviously it kind of looks dead depending on what angle you see it, because it seats 250,000 people. So you have that. I don't know what the ratings were for the race necessarily, but with the quality of the races, this is a crown jewel. Is there a fucking argument that maybe Indianapolis shouldn't host NASCAR races, or at least not ones in the Gen 7 car?
I mean, I feel like it's run its course, but at the same time, I understand why NASCAR goes there. It's tough to look at how big of an event NASCAR at the Brickyard was in like the 90s and then see the empty grandstands. Even if there are 60, 70,000 people, whatever it is there, it's definitely regressed quite a bit from when they first went there. So sometimes I feel like maybe it's run its course, but at the same time, watching Bubba celebrate, watching anybody who wins the Brickyard 400 celebrate, you could tell it means something. So I don't think we necessarily need to leave there, but I wouldn't shed a tear if they did.
I hear you. So it's a historic venue with notoriously bad racing, at least as of late. The luck poll, which we talk about all the time, 55% thought it was a good race. It was the exact same percentage as Dover last week. It ranked number 3 out of 3 of the Bubba Wallace wins in the poll. Kansas got an 87 and Talladega got a 62 when Bubba won there. This guy Stube, Steub, he keeps a season grade as if he was a teacher on where we are between 100 and whatever. So this coming in at 50s is another F. So, and it also brings the season average down to 65.8, which is like a D grade. And if you look at it in terms like that, you can see how stupid of a judging scale that is, because we haven't had a D season. Like the season has been pretty good. We've had some stinkers, particularly, past couple of weeks perhaps, but I think that the season does not reflect this D grade that it was given in this one little thing. So I don't know. I didn't enjoy it either, to be honest with you. I was able to fast forward through a lot of it because I was on about an hour delay before I could get in there. But that's it. It's a crown jewel, and 2311 just won a crown jewel as an open car. Before we get too deep into this, I just wanted to point out, as most of our comps are, Stuart Friesen. Did you guys watch that wreck? It's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
That was a violent one. I had seen it pop up on my timeline. So he suffered a broken pelvis and a fractured right leg in an accident during a dirt modified race in Quebec on Monday night. His wife, Jessica, who was also a racer, she dated Tony Stewart for a while, which I think is kind of cool, issued an update statement saying that he's doing well in Quebec. He's going to be transferred to a hospital in New York in the coming days. I think his pelvis is fractured in multiple places and his leg is broken. But they said as far as head, neck, and spine, he seems to be fine. So that's the latest update on him. And obviously send thoughts and prayers their way, because that was a horrible fucking race. Wreck. Let's talk about Xfinity for a little bit. Connor Zilic continues to be good. He won his third straight NASCAR Xfinity Series race, delivering victory number 100 for Junior Motorsports. Would you have rather seen Connor Zilic get that milestone with Junior Motorsports, or would you have rather seen Allgaier win that, since he's been such a big part of the growth of that company? Because Allgaier did get fucked by Kyle Larson, who just ran out of talent. I love saying that out loud on a podcast. Kyle Larson runs out of talent and fucking uses up Allgaier. So how do you guys feel about the Zilic win? Congratulations to him. Obviously, he continues to be a stud. And how do you feel about it being robbed from our guy, Little Gator?
I'm cool with it, honestly. I think it was cool to see the young kid that everyone's got all their eyes on come out, do it at an iconic place like Indy on an oval, when he's traditionally, billed as a road course ringer. And I also think Justin Allgaier, you can't really speak about JRM without mentioning him. He's been a fixture there, as you mentioned, Large. But I thought it was really cool seeing their graphic that they posted following the win, the 100th win. They pretty much paid respect to all the drivers that they've had coming, recent and far past. So I thought it was really cool. Allgaier is probably the biggest driver on the graphic celebrating their 100th win, which I think speaks to his kind of importance within the company. So I didn't have an issue with it. Like I said, I thought it was cool seeing Zilic cash. Maybe it's because I cashed him that I feel this way, but I think, he's a rightful winner, and it's not like he won on like a Mickey Mouse or like a rain delay or something like that. So I'm content with it.
And it was fun to watch. So it was the better of the two races again this weekend. Yeah, Xfinity ate the Cup's lunch. Go ahead, Quicks.
It would have been good for Allgaier to get it, I think, just because that's what Allgaier does. He races Xfinity. He is the man for that team. He's going to be there after Zilic leaves and goes to the Cup Series. And Zilic, if he's who we think he is going to be breaking all sorts of records and have a bunch of accolades in the Cup Series that nobody's going to even think about what he did in Xfinity. So that would have been cool. But also, he won the race. He earned it.
Yeah.
It's not too big of a deal.
Yeah, I hear you. And as we're so positive on Zilic, I just hope he doesn't fall into some sort of trap, like a child actor and develops an affinity for crack and Haitian hookers or something. There's also a little battle of the Burtons brewing in Xfinity. Jeb Burton ran 15th on Saturday, leads his cousin Harrison Burton by 10 points in the race for the final Xfinity Series playoff spot. But I think all that was overshadowed. Anything going on between Jeb and Harrison Burton, anything going on with Junior Motorsports and Connor and Allgaier, because Austin Hill did a very Austin Hill thing this weekend. And it came down from NASCAR. Has been suspended one race following his intentional wreck of Eric Amarola on Saturday. His absence from a regular season race will require a waiver so that he may retain his eligibility for the playoffs, but he'll forfeit all 21 of his playoff points and be ineligible to collect any more before the postseason begins. So he'll start the playoffs with 0. Richard Childress will not appeal this penalty. Austin Dillon will drive to 21 this weekend in Iowa. Someone said that's like replacing Hitler with Stalin, which I kind of like saying that out loud, to be honest with you. And then outside of that, they'll have a rotating cast of characters in the 21 for the rest of the season. A lot of people are like, no, throw Kyle Busch in there for this Saturday, but it's going to go with Austin Dillon. After watching this blatant move by Hill, and after seeing the punishment that was handed down, is this too much, not enough, or just right?
I thought it was probably justified, NASCAR's response, and I think the barometer for that would be if Richard Childress is not going to appeal, they probably know, like, all right, we fucked up. So that's why I tend to side with NASCAR. If the teams themselves, and this is, Richard Childress Racing that I feel like, which I'm a fan of, but a lot of times I feel like they, respond differently to adversity or, punishments from other teams that I've seen. Yeah, I go back to the Austin Dillon wreck. Where was it even at? Richmond, when he took out Denny and Logano, maybe. I forget who exactly it was. But yeah, my point is they don't seem like a team that often backs down or puts their hand up and says, you know what, we fucked up. And in this instance, I kind of see a little bit of that. So I think it was justified, and I think the team agreeing is kind of all the evidence of that argument you need to see.
What do you think, Quiggs?
Yeah, I mean, I think they got it. They got it right. You can't hook a guy like that and send him at a right angle into the wall at 180 miles per hour. And I mean, I get the idea of like Almirola kind of made contact with him, had no issue ruining his day, and he's like, fuck it, if we're playing that game, well, I'll take you out. But like, you just can't do that, and this is what happens if you do.
Yeah.
How stupid is Austin Hill, Moonhead?
I mean,
Scale of 1 to 10. How stupid is Austin Hill? Because here we got a guy who does this. Obviously, the white gloves don't help. There's no SMT data in Xfinity cars, or at least not the data that you would have in a Cup car. But that white glove, it might as well have been sequined. He might as well have been Michael fucking Jackson. And then to come out of the car after the on-track penalty that was handed out, and I think he said on tape, NASCAR can go fuck themselves. There's nothing more than he can expect to get at least a little bit of a slap on the wrist. Perhaps this one was too small. How dumb is Austin Hill?
Yeah, he's definitely got an anger issue, because watching it live, I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, and then after they showed like 2 replays, it was obvious what he did. And then to me, at that point, like, you could plead your case on the radio, but sitting there and telling NASCAR to go fuck themselves after you just right hooked somebody at Indy, like, that's a really bad look. So yeah, I think he got everything he deserved. I think, I'm always been a fan of NASCAR staying out of like driver beef for the most part and kind of letting it be self-policing, but like, you can't try to kill a guy, or I don't know that he wasn't trying to kill him, but he very well could have seriously injured somebody right hooking him at Indy. So I don't know what he expected. I mean, that was, on a scale of 1 to 10, that decision was a 10 on the dumb scale. I don't know how dumb of a guy he is when he's going about his daily life, but he's definitely got some anger issues.
If he was smart, he'd be in the Cup Series probably.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like there's probably a lot of people who don't want to don't want to associate with him, because he's definitely talented. But I mean, I don't think a Cup team is going to put up with somebody who's just going to lose their mind in that capacity. I mean, that was like a Bowman Gray style meltdown by him, between the right hooking somebody and then telling NASCAR to go fuck themselves.
Yeah. And you notice how much of a coward I am by asking you guys, how stupid is Austin Hill? So if the soundbite comes out, it's Quig's fucking thing. And next time he goes to the track, he gets one right in the fucking kisser.
You can blame me for anything. That's why I don't go to the track.
That's right.
That's why I left town when the Legacy guys were coming in.
What do you think happens, though, with Eric? Yeah, that's right, you fucking coward. What do you think happens when Eric Almirola, we always hear about, and that's one of the things that fascinates me, about how these guys make up afterwards, or at least attempt to. This seems like one of those things where Austin didn't make that call to Almirola and leave a message on his machine on Monday. Hey, listen, sorry, that got out of hand. It looks like this one probably doesn't get settled between the two drivers. Or am I missing something? Is this one of those ones where Austin sort of, I come to my senses, Eric, I'll never do it again?
No, I don't see this one getting resolved. And this is Eric Almirola, who was rumored to have a physical altercation with a teammate, Bubba Wallace, in years past. I can't imagine how he's going to respond to, a non-teammate pulling a move this egregious. And I think Eric's kind of justified in that position. He's a veteran driver. He's been doing this a long time. I'm sure, he's gotten in his fair share of wrecks, but I can't remember a time when he did something this egregious or black and white. So, I don't think they probably are on good terms right now. And I would wager to say there probably wasn't a phone call or some sort of, resurrection or solution to all of this.
I don't think Austin Hill has the ability to apologize good enough for Amarola to accept it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he has that in his bag of like
You called him dumb?
No, just like a genuine apology. Like, I just don't see him being able to like give Amarola something that Amarola's like, okay, I feel like you mean it. We're good now.
Well, if you look at the other incident or one of the other incidents from this weekend, which was Christopher Bell and Zane Smith, I was listening to maybe Stacking Pennies in the car, and the other gentleman from Stacking Pennies, what's his name? Not Corey LaJoy, the other TJ, right? Is it TJ in that?
Skip Flores.
Yeah. So either way, he had said, Chris Bell had come over to the haulers after the race was over, came over to the pit box of the 38, and he apologized to everybody on the team. He was like, listen, I thought I was clear. I made an absolute mistake. I ended your guys' day. And the guys were a little taken aback by that. Them coming over and basically going to just about everybody, including the dudes that were then loading the wrecked car up onto the hauler. And that seems like a Christopher Bell thing to do, right? Clean Racer did something that was out of character for him. And I just don't know where the balance is or on how I would handle it if I was the guy who was either guilty of doing what Christopher Bell did, or if I was the guy who was on the receiving end of it, like Eric Amarola or Zane Smith. But I thought Chris probably did a good job. And there was no penalty because they had said that it was accidental. It wasn't a intentional wreck of Zane Smith's car. So I don't know. There's two ways to go about it. I guess we had spoke about Carson Hocevar saying that he doesn't put a lot of premium on the apologies a couple of days later either. That's why he didn't pick up the phone with Josh Berry. So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what would be the perfect thing for when somebody fucks up. Spider, if you run me up into the fence,
yep,
partially intentionally, partially unintentionally, but it happens and you ruin my day. We're both Cup Series drivers. How do you handle it? How do you handle it? Do you get out of the car, come over and apologize to me? I'm Austin Hill. I'm bigger than you. Like, how does it? And then how do you handle it when I do it to you? Because Mark Martin said everything should be handled on the track. And immediately after he said that, he'd be like, but with Austin Hill, I know I'm going to get my ass kicked.
Yeah, I would probably, like I said previous weeks, like I think it was the John Hunter episode. I'm a guy that I like to get in front of shit. So as soon as I would get out of the car, I'd probably come over to you. That being said, if I was on the receiving end, I'd be fucking pissed. I'd probably go over to you and just give you a hard time. Not throw hands, but just let you know that I was upset and give you an opportunity to explain yourself, because obviously I would not be cool with that. But I mean, it's racing. This is inevitable. This happens all the time. So it's hard to say how I would react if this was something that I had to deal with time and time again.
Outside of that, I mean, like I said, pretty uneventful Cup race. McDowell got into Ross on lap 18 right in the beginning of the race. Ross was running that Bud Light Lime scheme, which I thought was pretty cool. Briscoe won stage one. Chase Briscoe, again, had a pretty strong day. He looked like a very good car, very fast car.
That's one storyline I was looking for. Briscoe wins the pole again. He's been unreal at qualifying this year. And then he wins the pole at his home track. I thought that was a cool storyline headed into the race that I was hoping to catch some of. As I said, I couldn't really watch a whole lot of the race, but I thought the Indy should not be discounted from that, or the fact that Bubba had guys on his crew that are from Indy that ended up getting to win at their home track, and I thought that was really neat. So, Briscoe's been running really well, and he stays hot in qualifying, which is very important at a lot of these tracks where position is so important.
I was convinced that Joey had it all figured out. Late in the race, I was watching. I was like, "Uh-oh, here comes Logano." Not his car, but he had it all figured out before he blew a tire. But none of that came to fruition because it was all Bubba. Before Sunday, Bubba Wallace had never won a race in the regular season. Both of his wins, Talladega in 21 and Kansas in the 45 car in 22, which I believe we were at that race, right, Spider? That was the one we were at in Kansas?
Yep.
Both of those wins came during the playoffs, and both were during playoffs that he wasn't a participant in. So this was a special race win for him. And one of the best things that I've witnessed since we started doing the show is how congratulatory the other drivers were. Even if you don't like Bubba Wallace, for whatever reason you don't like Bubba Wallace, I thought it was cool to see how much the other drivers were excited for him. Bowman came over and doored him, but not in the same way he doored him in fucking Chicago. SVG came over, gave him a little bump, which I thought was aggressive. SVG shouldn't be doing that shit. Fucking hack. Like, everybody was coming over and giving Bubba that congratulatory thing on the cool down lap. Man, I thought that was cool. That was very,
awesome.
very special. I thought it was cool for a NASCAR fan to watch, just as these drivers have a friendly relationship with each other. Hocevar, who said he's never hung out with anybody ever in NASCAR except for Bubba Wallace one time. He was there like doing the whole thing. It was cool. I thought it was very, very nice to watch. Do you want to give flowers to anybody from this weekend, Spider?
I mean, as I said before, it would go to probably Catherine Legg, top 20 finish. I thought that was cool to see. And then, RFK would be another team I give flowers to. Ryan Preece and Brad Kay both finishing within the top 5. So yeah, I was impressed with those guys and females as well. So that would be the 3 that come to mind off the rip. And I'll leave it at just 3 because I always feel like I steal people's flower giving. So
that's nice. Quick, what do you got?
Catherine Legg, of course, but
of course,
I'll give it to. I'll give it to SVG. I think he's slowly he's gonna just keep creeping up on these tracks that he's not used to, and he's getting better and better. P19 is nothing to like brag about. But for him, I think he's gonna slowly get into where he's a top 15 driver on these speedways, and I'll give him some flowers.
I'm going to ask Freddie about him when we have him on in a couple of minutes. But SVG won in a Legends car in an oval this week. I don't know if that's scary or not for Cup drivers because obviously cars are so different. But one of the people who commented on the social media post underneath that had said, SVG is what Larson fans think Larson is. That's fucking, what a great quote. Like, he's good in everything. And maybe Larson isn't as, it's a dig on Larson and a whatever for SVG. So it's cool that you give him flowers. Anybody jump out to you, Moon?
Catherine Legg, definitely. Yeah. I have to call it like I see it. She did a great job.
I think it's great. And what Catherine did was impressive, but what Denny did, I thought was fucking almost heroic. I mean, Denny starting all the way in the back of the pack after he'd put it in the wall during qualifying. They go to the backup car. They show all this footage of people ripping the stickers off, putting them back on. And he comes in, climbs through the whole goddamn field to finish third. That's better than what Catherine Legg did. And not that, it's apples to apples, but also seeing him get to kiss the bricks as an owner of an open team. That's a little thorn in the side for NASCAR, even if he doesn't win this lawsuit. It's just, I thought Denny had a very, very good weekend, finishing third from where he had started, and then having one of his guys get to celebrate in victory lane. I can move on from Indy if you guys want to, because I didn't see anything that I thought.
Yeah, I have one last thing, and there were a couple people deserving of flowers I felt did not get their recognition. So Todd Gilliland finishing P6,
there he is,
and then the Spire guys, Hocevar and Haley, 10th and 11th respectively. Obviously, McDowell did not have a great finish, but encouraging to see Spire up there, particularly Justin Haley, because Hocevar's had speed. That's not really anything new, but Haley with an 11th place finish, I think, is encouraging.
And that's, I think Large gave a stat out. Is that Hocevar's first finish that's better than Catherine Legg?
Oh, actually,
wasn't that a thing where she finished?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, give a little flowers. That's our Carson Hocevar segment of the day.
Yeah,
Carson Hocevar smoked Catherine Legg. Justin
Haley, a kid from Indiana as well, finishing 11th. That's got to feel good. So happy for him. And then also, I guess Ty Gibbs by default, just getting the $1 million in season tournament, I thought was cool.
What do you think about that, though? As a guy who you're friendly with Ty, right?
Yeah.
And you like him and all that stuff. A little bit disappointing, though. I mean, just with the run that Ty Dillon had, you almost wanted that Cinderella story to run itself out. Ty did very good afterwards. I think he's making a donation of $10,000 to a charity of Ty Dillon's choice.
Yeah.
We had spoke last week about how that $1 million actually goes to the team owner or something. So it's not like he just got a attaché case filled with $1 million.
He might have.
I don't know. Like, I really don't know exactly how it happens, but either way, he got the ring. He got like the fancy ring, little Super Bowl ring. And, but you know, if we would have saw Ty Dillon kind of get to the end of that, that would be a lot more fun to watch.
I'll play devil's advocate though.
Go.
Part of me feels like this might be the spark that Ty Gibbs needs.
Okay.
You know, it's not a race win, but he gets a win. You know, he showed that he can kind of string together consistent, solid performances. And, you know, I think this might help build some confidence that it seemingly he didn't have early in the season. Obviously, you know, rookie coming in, there's a lot to learn, but I think this might be good for him. And I'm interested to see if he could kind of go the Bubba approach and maybe end up either winning one of these regular season races or potentially in the playoffs from either the outside in or, you know, punching his ticket in somehow. So, I think that was good for Ty Gibbs in the long haul. I do think it'll be interesting, like, if they do this in-season tournament for years and years to come, if people, like, a great trivia question would be, who did Ty Gibbs beat in the final the first year of the in-season tournament? Like, I think it was still good overall, the in-season tournament. I do agree that maybe we should reevaluate how the seeding is done. But other than that, I was pretty entertained top to bottom with this new effort from NASCAR.
And do you want it to keep going, Quicks? You want to see this thing keep going every year?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a few wrinkles or just make it a week longer and basically get all the drivers in there, or have, I mean, this may be a lot, but like a playoff spot comes with a win.
That could
I
be
don't
cool.
know. Like, that may be too much for what it is, but
I mean, a playoff spot for a win, I kind of like that idea. I think to me that's more fair than
that's huge.
A guy winning, like I said, like in kind of Austin Dillon fashion, and then expecting a playoff spot. Like, I think a playoff spot would be it'd be more fair to give one out for winning the in-season tournament than, granted, Austin Dillon did not get the playoff spot, but
yeah, absolutely keep it going. I mean,
people will lose their fucking minds though if all of a sudden Ty Dillon wins the in-season challenge and gets the fucking playoff spot. I mean, people would lose their and it'd be very beneficial for the teams because they make money off of it. But
large people lose their mind over everything.
Gibbs kind of would need it too. Like, he's right on the bubble,
right?
But yeah, keep it going. I mean, it's not my money, first of all, so I don't care if they want to give out $1 million, and whether you like it or think it's good, it didn't take anything away from any of the races at the very least. So, like, of course, keep doing it. Like, not my money, and I thought it was good. Could have been better, but yeah, it didn't overwhelm any of the races and like take away or be like this in-season tournament's annoying. They're not even focusing on the actual race. So I'd love to see it keep going.
Moon, smash or pass mid-season bracket challenge.
No, I agree with Quiggs. It's harmless. I think that they could probably change up the way some of the seating works, maybe, because I think that kind of, and maybe not started at a super speedway or a drafting track, but other than that, it's harmless. I think it's cool, and I mean, we never really would have been paying attention to Ty Dillon, I feel like, these last few weeks, but he's given us a lot of really exciting moments and cool sound bites through it. So anything to add storylines.
Where do you stand on the winner should get a playoff spot? Bad idea.
Oh, absolutely. Idea. Yeah, no, that's a terrible idea. That should not happen at all. But I think the way the bracket is right now, it's harmless. It doesn't, like, somebody wins some money. Like, that's it. It doesn't affect the season in any way, shape, or form, really. Yeah. And I think that's the way it should stay.
If it tweaks and it gets more gamblers involved, I think this thing could be a lot bigger. But for its maiden voyage, it's never going to be perfect, and it certainly wasn't perfect. And I think they know right off the bat the tweaks that they need to make for next year, and you guys have outlined them already. So I think it's going to be a very good annual event, especially in these, doldrums of the summer. It gives us another talking point. So I'm hoping that it keeps going. Congratulations to Ty. I shouldn't say that I'm not happy for him. It's just when you're following the Cinderella thing throughout it would have been nice to see him kind of pull through. Yeah. One of the things that I had heard today too, because of the open car winning, whatever the pot is for the winner of the Brickyard, it then goes and gets whacked up between the rest of the chartered teams. Like they only get a small percentage of the winnings that they would have gotten, and then the rest of it kind of gets distributed amongst everybody. So when Bubba won, everybody won. 2311 didn't get as much money as they should have. What?
Explain that. Sorry.
So there's an overall purse, right? The purse
for
winning every
Indy?
race.
For every race, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For the Brickyard. And then the way the purse gets distributed is the winner of the race gets X amount. The winner of the race, if they do not have a charter, gets a X minus so much. And I believe it's like
substantial.
360 grand versus 60 grand quick.
Yeah.
So then the other 300 grand goes back into the other, teams, and they each get a percentage of that. So the charter teams. So it fucks them a little bit, gives everybody else a little bit extra. And I'm sure that Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, everybody involved in 2311 is okay giving up part of the purse to have one of their drivers locked into the playoffs and one of their other drivers almost guarantee they're on points unless the world starts to fall apart. Just do a couple of headlines. You mentioned last week about the MLB Speedway Classic. This podcast will be dropping on Friday. On Saturday, August 2nd, Cincinnati Reds will be taking on the Atlanta Braves in Bristol, and it's going to break the all-time regular single game attendance record, the all-time regular season single game attendance record. So first time professional baseball has been in the state of Tennessee, and now that it's there, no one else has packed them in for a regular season game like Bristol is going to. More than 85,000 tickets are already been sold. They'll be selling more, as it comes closer and obviously at the gate. So it's going to go right through the 84,500 set on September 12th, 1954, when Cleveland Stadium hosted the New York Yankees. So we're blowing away a 70-some-odd-year-old record by having a baseball game in a NASCAR track, and I think that's going to be very fucking cool. The ceremonial first pitch will feature 2 Hall of Famers. It's going to be, and 2 Hall of Famers that spent their entirety with the ball clubs that are playing. So Johnny Bench will be catching the first pitch. He was a Red for his whole career, also a Hall of Famer. And then throwing out the first pitch will be that jerk-off Chipper Jones, who spent his whole career with the Atlanta Braves. So I think it's going to be something worth watching for people who are tucked into their couch on Saturday. It's the MLB Speedway Classic live from Bristol Motor Speedway. So check that out if you guys want to. NASCAR announced they would not return to Mexico City next year after all the complaining I did, and Chicagoland is expected to take its place. Chicagoland previously hosted races for NASCAR's 3 national series from 2001 to 2019 before the league shifted to different locations. What are your memories of Chicagoland, Moonhead? If you don't mind, I'm going to go with you first, just because we're just assuming how this is going to be. I'm assuming that we're going to be there next year, Spider. What was your thoughts about Chicagoland from years past?
I mean, it was honestly to me just your typical mile and a half. I mean, the racing was good at times. I feel like I think there's a lot of nostalgia factor going into this, and I think people are probably a little overhyped over Chicagoland. I don't think it was really, people weren't really firing up the grill and having, their extended family over because Chicagoland was on TV that Sunday back when we went there. So I don't think it'll be a bad race. I'm happy it's going to be back. I think it seems like there's going to be a lot of hype around it, and it'll do great as far as a crowd goes, and it'll probably put on a good race with how tracks like Kansas and Vegas have put on a show with the next gen car. But I don't know that it's going to be, anything historic or anything crazy like that. I do know 2018 or whatever it was, I might have the year off. But when Larson and Kyle Busch had that finish, that was, one of the greatest finishes of all time. So that's a moment that stands out, and I think that kind of sticks out in people's head. But yeah, I mean, I'll be happy to see it back, but I don't think it's going to, change the world or anything.
Would you travel to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would. I've never been there. I think it'd be cool.
to scenic Joliet in Illinois. Spider,
Yeah.
what do we know about it? As being our resident Chicagoan, we have 2 resident Chicagoans, excuse me, 3 counting Jacob, excuse me once again. How do you guys feel about it? I think it's about is it an hour outside of town? I believe
I think it's about that.
Yeah.
I'm excited personally. I mean, obviously it's cool having a race in your market, you know, especially Large and I both lived in New York City for a long time. There's not really any racing near there. So being just an hour away from Chicagoland is awesome. And obviously the street race here was awesome too, just being even quicker, shorter distance away. So I love having the race here in Chicago. I don't know the first thing about Joliet, Chicagoland, other than obviously that's where Tony Stewart was racing, drag racing. And then obviously there's a NASCAR track there as well, an oval. So I'm excited to see it. Hopefully that comes to fruition. I'll definitely try to probably be there next year. And I don't know. I think it's great to keep the greater kind of Chicago Midwest area in on, local races, keep that market, satisfied. And, Freddie mentioned the fact that we are not at Road America anymore, which is a short drive away in Wisconsin. So I think it is important to have a race somewhere near here in the Midwest. So, I mean, obviously Indiana's not that far, but it's cool when there's something close to you. So I'm excited.
You know what I think it is? Well, I guess it's a place that can hold a race and it's good. I think this is like a research play almost to see the effect of the street race in Chicago and compare ticket sales, like see how much that NASCAR has grown in this area compared to like pre the street race, and like get some like market research basically from that.
For sure.
How many people they're going to drag out of the city? Like, people casually went there for the 2 rainy ones, probably didn't have the greatest experience. And then, so for this 3rd one, which went off almost without a hitch, I don't know if that's going to be enough to get them out there, but I think there are already enough legacy NASCAR fans who have fond memories of Chicagoland to fill that. I don't know how big the grandstand is, but I'm assuming it's probably going to be a very tough ticket to get. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. But do you think that says something if it doesn't
yeah. I agree with you 100%. And I think it's probably the most brilliant way for NASCAR to pull off that, that whatever you're referring to, right?
Yeah.
That project, that's the only way they could do that study to see if their street races then, because if I'm understanding you correctly, you're wondering whether or not the street races is going to spur more local tracks to get people in there just because you hooked NASCAR into these guys' veins with the street race.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Kind of like, see if like part of their goal is let's bring NASCAR to an urban area, build a fan base of people who don't normally watch it. And then they're like, oh, we got this race that's 45 minutes out of town. Mm-hmm. You guys should all be NASCAR fans by now because we gave you this race in your city. Let's see if you are willing to go out to a race now that you wouldn't have gone to 5 years ago when it was there. But I don't know if people will. Like, I don't know if, and then if they don't, it's like, are they even really building new fans by doing these street races?
Yeah, so then maybe it did fail and then go somewhere else. I will tell you, if you put a gun to my head and had me decide which race you're going to go to next year, Large, you can only do one, San Diego or Chicagoland, I think we all would jump to go to fucking San Diego.
Absolutely.
I mean, it just seems to be the sexier of the two. So, and it's replacing what could be one of the most sexy venues that we've had since we started here, which is the diarrhea-inducing Mexico City. Coverage goes back to NBC starting this weekend. TNT finished its run with the largest audience of the season, 2.45 million for Sunday's Brickyard. But on average, TNT was slightly lower than the preceding 5 races on Amazon Prime. Well, all that's behind us, and we're back having a full stiffy for Lee Diffie. So TNT finishes its run, and NBC is up. So this week's race, I think, is going to be covered on USA, and expect to see some fresh faces, some familiar faces rather, in the booth as they move coverage. I'm going to be sad to see him go. I liked listening to Letard. I liked listening to Junior, all those guys. I'm going to be sad to see these guys go and switch over. But Lee Diffie is somebody that I've kind of missed also this season. Where do you rank them now, Spider? Fox, Amazon. I know they have the same coverage, but Amazon, they got away with more. There wasn't no cracking of beers on the TNT and stuff like that. So where do you rank this coverage now?
I would go Amazon, Fox, NBC.
Okay.
In my opinion, I just think that they maybe it's because like you said, the TN or the 18. I can't speak right now.
That's okay.
The Prime broadcast just seemed like they were like friends having fun, which was a nice change of pace. I think that might lose its luster if you did it week after week for like the whole season, as much as people were clamoring for that to be the case. Fox, I think, does a great job, and then they have some of the best races as well, in my opinion. So I think for that reason, I'm putting Fox second. Obviously, Daytona 500 is massive, like notch to have in your belt. So it might be kind of skewed, but that would be my ranking. Amazon, Fox, NBC.
I'm looking forward though to seeing like what they decide. I think everyone's stepping up their game because of Amazon. And I'm wondering how NBC steps up their game. So, and we're going to get to see it in a couple of days. All right. So let's put a bow on this week, and we'll do that by talking to our guy, Freddie Kraft. Freddie Kraft is the spotter for the number 3 2311 car piloted by Bubba Wallace. But we all know that the true talent in that team is the guy who's on the roof telling Bubba exactly what to do and when to do it. It's Freddie Kraft. Freddie, welcome to the show once again.
Thank you. I really couldn't agree more with you. I don't know if I could have said it better myself, honestly.
I doubt you could. You know what I mean? I've listened to it. And before we get started, Door Bumper Clear is the podcast that you all know Freddie is on. It drops on Tuesdays, Freddie?
Monday afternoon.
Monday afternoon, drops every Monday afternoon. They had a shakeup in the lineup last season, came back this season. I think it's better than ever. It seems like you guys are getting great feedback on it. A lot more cursing this year. I want to put that in front of you, just so people know. You can see a lot of fucking cursing.
I think,
but I
learned that from you.
You guys check it out. Yeah. How are you feeling? How's the liver the week after winning a crown jewel?
Yeah, it's today's about the first day I've felt almost back to about 50%. We went to Bubba's house obviously Sunday night. Then I got with my buddies on Monday afternoon, and that ran into Tuesday morning. So yesterday we had a toast at the shop, a tequila toast. So it's been a week. I followed that up with going to Cole Custer's 1-year-old birthday party. So that was, you got to slip some stuff in there to try and balance your week out, apparently. But yeah, today I'm almost feeling like myself again today a little bit. So slowly but surely we're getting back after it.
Seeing you at a first birthday party is like seeing a crackhead in church. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where he's there, but not for the right reasons.
I saw somebody's video of myself yesterday, like in the background as they're singing Happy Birthday, and I'm like, this is an awkward video. Like, I don't think anybody's going to expect to see me standing back here while they're singing Happy Birthday to this kid, but here we were.
Yeah, lifetime memories. What do you got for Freddie, Spider?
Yeah, so Bubba becomes the first black driver to win a major race at Indianapolis on the oval configuration. Obviously, a massive win for Bubba, and he breaks a winless streak. How significant is it at Indy, and where would you rank that amongst the existing crown jewels in the sport?
Man, it's strange because I feel like Indy was definitely a crown jewel, and it is a crown jewel still. And it's weird because I think race history wise, like the Southern 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 have a little more lore in our sport because they've just been around for so much longer. But then like you break it down by the racetrack, and it's like, holy shit, I wanted Indianapolis Motor Speedway versus, Charlotte Motor Speedway, which there's not taking anything away from Charlotte, but just the history behind Indianapolis Motor Speedway, to think that we got out there and were able to kiss the bricks and just get that deal done. I think it's probably, if I had to rank the 4 in the NASCAR world, Indy's probably the lowest of the 4, just of the true diehard NASCAR fans. But, when you get to say that you want to race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's kind of hard to beat it.
For sure.
Freddie, one of the worst takes that I've had in a long time was that Connor Zillich should stay in Xfinity for another season. And I've backtracked on that, and now I'm trying to come up with another bad take. The racing for the casual fan at Indy is never one that really blows it out of the water. Is there, now that you've won it, can we take it off the schedule?
No, I think it just always has a place on the schedule. And to your point, like, I was looking at like Gluck's poll the other day, and it's 50% good or something like that. That's what you're going to get at Indy. It's just a 2-lane racetrack that was built for Indianapolis type cars, and they don't, it's not like they put on a phenomenal race. They race like we do. They have a little bit better draft, but it's the same thing. You're riding around saving fuel, trying to manage your track position because it's so hard to pass. So you spend the whole race kind of like we do at Daytona and Talladega now. You spend the whole race trying to put the least amount of fuel in on their last pit stop so you can cycle to the front of the line and hold the lead. And you've seen that. Like Larson ran us down from 5 seconds back in that last run and was maybe going to get there by the end of the race. We have a restart and he can't touch us because we've got clean air and he doesn't. So, it's just one of those things where that's what you have to go into Indy expecting. And if you're expecting to see a good side-by-side race, you're just not going to get it there.
100 race winless streak for Bubba Wallace. What do you tell your driver that's in the midst of a slump like that? And how much better does it feel when you ultimately get the win like we saw this past weekend at Brickyard?
Yeah, we just got to keep plugging along. We've been in position to win some, and these things are hard to win, man. You look at, there's 3 or 4 teams that win every year. They kind of dominate the standings. They dominate the win totals. So you just got to continue to put yourself in position. I felt like last year we had some opportunities that we maybe cost ourselves with strategy or stuff like that, or just getting caught up in other people's messes. We could have won Texas. I think last year or the year before, we kind of screwed up the late restart, and Byron got around us on a green-white checker. So we've been there. We've been in position. And like I think Charles mentioned this in his post-race the other day, if you're hoping to get yourself in position 3 or 4 times, and one of those times you capitalize, almost like a baseball hitter. If you can bat 300, that's your damn Hall of Fame level. So if you just continue to put yourself in the top 5 and running in position, like we started that third stage in 6th, and just by, really good fuel strategy, really good pit calls, we were able to jump to 2nd. And then I don't know that we were going to be able to pass Logano. Logano was in front of us, but then he blows that tire, and that hands us the lead, and we're able to drive away while Tyler's kind of got the line held up. So, it's just all circumstantial. Like if Logano doesn't blow that tire, I don't know that we're sitting here.
Yeah. Talk to me about the in-season tournament. Obviously, a cool, exciting thing that NASCAR added. Do you feel that same way from a driver's perspective? And then obviously, we saw Bubba and Alex battling. Were you guys more focused on, winning and finishing position as opposed to the in-season tournament? Where did that rank amongst your priorities?
Yeah, we never really even mentioned it. I mean, obviously when that stuff was going down with Alex, I'm sure it was somewhere in the back of Bubba's mind. There was a lot going on there. We're battling Alex for that in-season deal. We're battling Alex for the last spot in the playoffs at the time. We're battling Alex at the racetrack that he wrecked us at the year before. So there was a lot of things going on in one scenario there. So, but yeah, I think the in-season challenge did what it was supposed to do. It shined some light on some guys that don't normally see it, like Ty Dillon. And it gave you a reason to watch these guys. When is Ty Dillon ever going to go and boot Alex Bowman for 20th at Sonoma, just other than the fact that they're racing each other in the challenge in the last corner, So it's funny because I was talking about this on DBC this week. The only thing I didn't like about it was how they did the seeding. I thought they just should have seeded it straight up on points. The first guy in points goes against the 32nd guy, just to make it kind of fair. And if that had happened, it would have worked out where Chase Elliott, the most popular driver, would have won. So I'm kind of glad it backfired on him. But I thought that was interesting.
I'm going to give people a little bit of background. Freddie and I are now on a podcast with the gentleman who can get down to the winner's circle faster than anyone I've ever seen. Spider has an uncanny ability to schmooze photographers and security guards, and the next thing you know, we're covered in champagne within minutes of a race ending. That's correct, right, Spider?
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, you jump fences and you do whatever to get down there, and it's never the same on any track, but he's consistently in the winner's circle with people who do it. We're normally in the suites. You're nice enough to have us come up every now and again. It's the only time I've seen stuff from that bird's eye spotter point of view. I know how difficult it is to get from the roof to the floor. How difficult was it for you at the end of that race? Because myself, Annie, and my daughter Bridget were watching it. You've been out with Annie and Bridget and I to dinner. My whole family knows Freddie. They were like, "Where's Freddie? Where the hell is he at?" Bridget's like, "You think he's okay?" I'm like, "I don't think he's okay. He probably fell off a ladder." Whatever. We hit in the face by Shane Van Gisbergen, whatever it is. How difficult was it for you at Indianapolis Motor Speedway to get from the highest point? And I'm telling you, Freddie's up there. If they need to change a light bulb, it's him that has to do it, to get down there and celebrate with the crew.
So it's funny because you kind of it's more so it's it's a log jam kind of at Indy because we're above the grandstands in turn one. So you're, going with the crowd, which I don't know how the hell they get out of there during the Indy 500. Like, we obviously didn't have quite as many people there this weekend, and it took me 20 minutes to get from the top to the bottom. But so, I eventually get down there. So now I'm walking down the front straightaway because there's a tunnel that I could take that's all the way down quite a ways past the start finish line. And I said, man, I don't really want to walk my fat ass all the way down to that tunnel if I could save a couple calories. So I seen some guys at the start finish lines. I was like, maybe I can get over there. And I saw some photographers, and I saw a hole they were going through in the fence at the start finish line. So I was like, all right, that's where I'm heading. I know I got my hard card and stuff, so I can get through wherever I need to go. But the one embarrassing moment was I walk up to the gate. Now I'm on the wrong side. I'm on a walkway. There's a fence, then a little grass, and then the fence for the racetrack. And I'm like, I got to get from this fence over to that one somehow. I don't know that my fat ass needs to be jumping over this fence. Like, I'm probably gonna tear something here. So I get all the way down to the gate, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I got to go for it. So I throw my bag over the fence, and there's a guy standing next to me. There's a bunch of fans at the fence that I can't, see this flag stand. And the guy, I'm getting ready to throw my stuff over. I look at the guy next to me, and I'm like, boy, this is gonna hurt. And he's like, you don't want to take this gate right here? He was standing in front of a gate that he just swung open, and I walked through. I was like, well, you could have mentioned that as I'm throwing shit over the fence here to not kill myself. But, yeah, so I got right out there and walked across the racetrack. But it took a while to get down there, really.
And you made it for some of the celebration.
Yeah, I got there as they were going up the elevator on the platform.
Cool.
Bubba gets a win here, obviously punches himself into the playoffs. What other opportunities do you look for him to be have speed at this year? And what are your expectations for the playoffs?
Really across the board, we've had speed just about everywhere. Obviously, road courses sometimes can be a struggle for him. Mainly like Chicago was a little bit of a struggle. Watkins Glen, we've run top 10 there the last 2 years, so I think we'll be okay there. You go to Daytona, obviously he's a very good plate racer. A lot of that's circumstantial now, whether or not you find yourself at the front strategy-wise. But yeah, other than that, man, playoffs, I think we're going to be pretty good. The last 2 years, we've had, the last 2 years ago we were in the playoffs. We advanced through a couple rounds. Ended up top 10 in points. Last year we missed the playoffs because we had that rash of new winners at the end of the year with Burton and Briscoe. But if you did the math, we would have ended up 10th in points again last year from 16th. So he's run well in the playoffs every year. Both of our wins before this, Talladega and Kansas, had come in the playoffs. So he can step up and perform in the playoffs even when he's not in there. So hopefully we just continue the momentum here and run well. And he's got plenty of speed to get it done. We just need stuff to fall our way.
Have you seen a difference in your driver? I know I listened to Actions also this week, and Denny had mentioned now that Bubba's a dad, there's something different about him. Personally, like since we see him a lot at the track, he's that same asshole that we've always known. And he is an asshole. So he doesn't remember my fucking name. As a spotter and as a guy who works very, very closely to him, how have you seen Bubba mature through the years that you guys have been together?
Yeah, I mean, this is our 15, 16 year together, and it's obviously I've watched him grow up. When I started working with him, he was 16 years old. So I got the very beginnings of the punk kid that was, he was fast, race car driver, a little cocky, and, but with just this year alone, and it's weird. There was a little shift in the year, and it's hard for him, especially. He gets, I'm sure you guys know, the stuff he gets on socials and everything, and you can't even imagine some of the personal stuff he gets. It wears on you. So he started out the year and it was, we were good, and he's doing well and everything's great. And even in the bad days, he's like, bad days aren't so bad. But then as the bad days pile up, obviously it gets harder and harder, and it's very easy for him to kind of go into a little shell. And this year he's just been able to not do that. They've been able to stay, focused on what he did. If you listen to the post race, he's talking about leading that race with 20 to go and starting to let self-doubt creep in. But he managed to fight through it and get the job done, and goes head to head with Larson twice on those last two restarts, and wins the race. Outduels maybe the best guy in our sport right now, or maybe the world. So that stuff. That's just it's all. He'll be the first one to tell you it's all in his head. He's got to. Sometimes it's just really self doubt. And once he can convince himself that he's belongs and he can do whatever he wants to do, he's just gonna be that much better. And I see steps towards that this year more so than others.
How concerned were you at the end of the race there when the cautions kept coming out and Bubba was lined up on the restart versus Kyle Larson, as you said, one of the best drivers in the field?
Yeah, it was I was watching him catch us. I'm doing the math, and I'm like, man, he's going to get there right at the end of this race, and we're going to have to probably wreck to try and hold him off because he was. I mean, large. No, there's no about it. No bones about it. He was hauling ass at the end of the race.
Yeah.
So the yellow. I feel a couple raindrops, and I'm like, nope, it's good. It's good. We just kept saying on the radio, I'm like, there's some rain over here when 1-2, but it's definitely not affecting the racetrack. And Bubba's like, yeah, track's fine. Meanwhile, I'm sure everybody else is screaming, it's raining its ass off. We got to throw the yellow. So when they finally do throw the yellow, it's like, and the other thing is we're close on fuel. So that the biggest thing for me was I thought we could get good enough restarts and beat Larson. It was going to be hard, obviously, fast race car. But the problem for us was fuel. That was my biggest concern. And Charles, as we sat there under the red flag, he's like, Freddie, we got enough fuel for one restart. If they wreck on this restart, we're going to have to pit. And I was like, okay, well, the chances of them wrecking on this restart are extremely high because I've watched all these guys crash every year we do this. So, of course, we get a good restart. Bubba gets the lead. We go down the back stretch, and I don't know what Bell was doing, but he unfortunately hooked Zane Smith. And as soon as that happened, I yelled out the loudest F-bomb I've ever yelled out in my life because I thought that was the end of our race. I thought we were going to have to come down pit road, and they did the math. They opened up pit road quick enough to where they said, the hell would it stay out? And because the problem is, obviously it's easy to say, well, you guys just need to win, go for the win. But we're also battling Priest for points, and Priest is running in the top 10. So if we do run out, instead of being up 30, 40 points coming out of that race, you're going to be almost tied or behind because you're going to give up, a 30-point gap there to him. So it was a hard decision to make. But then I was like, if we could just get going, here we got going, and then the yellow comes. We go green. And we're got a good enough lead where I know Larson's not going to catch us, but now I'm just screaming at this thing down the back straightaway. Don't you run out of gas, you piece of shit. Please do not run out of gas. And, even off of 4, Bubba starts laughing and celebrating. I'm like, you better get to the line, bro.
Freddie, let's talk about the other big story from this weekend in Austin Hill. I know there is a very small percentage of the internet, mainly trolls who said that, he shouldn't have been punished at all. Then there's another part of the internet that thought he should be destroyed by lethal injection right away. How do you feel about the ultimate punishment that was handed down by NASCAR? Was it enough? Was it not? Was it not enough? And how quickly do you think Austin went out to buy darker colored gloves?
Yeah, that's what somebody said to me. Somebody said, "Do they have SMT on that deal? Can they see what he did with?" I said, no, they got old school SMT. He had the white gloves on. You don't need all the data. He's got the old school SMT. I think it's a fair punishment. I think it's the same as what everybody else has gotten. They've made it a little stiffer this year by removing your playoff points to try to deter it even more because they set this precedent with Bubba. When Bubba did it to Larson, he was the first one to get suspended for it. So then the following year, maybe even that year, Chase did it too, I think, to Denny. And he got the same punishment. And we saw another guy, I forget who it was. I think somebody else got it. So they probably were like, well, okay, this one suspension's not deterring them. We've got to do something different. So I think it's fine. I think that, he's lost 21 points or probably 27 points by the time you factor in his regular season standing points. So that's a race essentially. I don't know what he's averaging in race-wise points, but it's probably less than 30. So, you're basically taking a race away from him in the playoffs, which – that's fitting. For me, I'd like, if you really want to get rid of it, just make these guys, because we have a rule that says you have to attempt to start every race to be eligible for the playoffs. And you see it. I'm sure you guys talked about it. I know we beat it to death. The waivers for guys that get injured or whatever. I don't understand why you're giving waivers to guys that are getting suspended. Because Austin's gonna have to apply for a waiver and he's gonna get it. Well, why? If you want to make this hurt, just all right. Well, you want to suspend, you want to right hook somebody. If you're going to do something so egregious on the racetrack that warrants a suspension, I think you should lose your playoff eligibility. I don't know why you're getting waivers for that, but
it opens up a slot, right? It opens up a slot for someone who's clean.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just if you want to make it hurt, make it hurt. Make these guys think twice about doing stupid shit because that was. That's a place you can't do that, and that was clear as day, a right hook in the right rear to turn him head on into a wall, a 90-degree wall, essentially. I think you just got to do everything you can to get this out of the sport. And I thought Dale, on his Dirty Mo podcast was talking about it. And he said, the problem is they start making the penalties stiffer and NASCAR maybe sometimes backs down on how strictly they call it. We saw the deal with Cindric earlier in the year where he kind of right hooked Ty Dillon and Dakota, and he didn't get the suspension. And there was thoughts maybe that they didn't want to do that because they didn't want to take all his playoff points away. So, sometimes if you make the penalty too stiff, now are they afraid to call it? I don't know. But I thought this one was fine for what they've got in the rule book.
Looking at NASCAR this season and, outside of this season, I go back 3 years. We've seen the NASCAR Chicago Street Race. We've seen a lot of new initiatives, whether it be moving the Clash, and then we have new initiatives coming next year with not Mexico City, with San Diego. What else do you think NASCAR can do more of, and is there anything that they've done that you feel has just not really worked?
No, I think everything works. I think that I kind of like the idea of going to places one time. Obviously you got your big name racetracks that we need to go do twice, but I feel like the Poconos of the world and stuff like that, where we went from 2 dates to one, the crowd is phenomenal at the one race. So I like the idea of maybe taking some of these places that we go do twice off, and backing down to one date. There's 4 or 5 tracks. I think you got to go to Martinsville twice. I think you got to go to Daytona, Talladega twice. There's some standards that you had. Darlington would be nice, but although Darlington probably could benefit from just a Southern 500. We did that for years. So I think you can do benefit of that. And then I think, the crowd at that Mexico race, you guys were there, was electric. If we can,
it was awesome.
If we can replicate that and wherever you want to go to a different country, whether it's Montreal or whatever, like anywhere we can go to get that, F1 type electric crowd. Like, everybody had their doubts about Mexico, but man, when we got there, it was that place was unbelievable.
Yeah. So sorry, Large, real quick. One question I love asking the drivers, and I've never really gotten the chance to ask a spotter this, is if you could add and remove one track to the schedule for next year, what would it be?
Well, it'd definitely be a road course of some sort. Probably for me, the Roval, I would say. I don't, if we're gonna go to road courses, let's go to road courses. Let's not go to the Roval.
Yeah.
There's one of the best road courses in America is Road America. And we went there for a couple of years and had huge crowds, and it was pretty good racing. And then we just took it off the schedule. I'd have to think about, a mile and a half wise, obviously going back to Chicagoland, I think is going to happen. That's a really racy racetrack. If we could figure out how to rebuild that California racetrack to be what it was, that was one of my favorite racetracks, that big 2 mile oval. We hauled ass there and you could run all over the place. That was one of my favorite racetracks, and I just hated to see it go away. There's really no, there's short tracks. Rockingham maybe get back on the schedule, but it'd have to wear out a little more. Rockingham right now is not old Rockingham. It's so fast, and it'd have to wear the pavement out a little bit to get back to where it was. So places like that. But I would definitely, even if it was just one for one, like take the Roval off and replace it with a different road course, whether it be Road America or something like that. That's something I think we need to do.
Freddie, 2 of the things that we lack on this podcast is viewers and historical perspective. From a guy who's been watching and involved in racing from the time he was in diapers, and he'll be there until the time he's in diapers, which is probably only a couple of years away from now. When you see a young talent like Connor Zilic, we get extremely excited about him. Are we getting overly excited, or can you answer me this question, fill in the blank? I haven't seen a talent like Connor Zilic since blank.
I haven't seen a talent like Connor Zilic since probably it would have to be somebody like Bell. You know what I mean? In that range. And even Bell, Connor is generational talent. And not only just generational talent, obviously he can drive the hell out of a race car. I made this joke on DBC a couple weeks ago. I know Connor pretty well. He popped up on the radar for me 3 or 4 years ago. He's winning a couple 8-mile races. So I had talked to him about coming on our show. And then he went out in February and won the Rolex at like 17 years old. And I was like, okay, you're going to come on right now, buddy. But he has the ability to sit down with us and do a podcast and sound like he's been a veteran for 40 years and say everything right. And then I see him away from the racetrack and he's still a 17, 18-year-old kid, whatever he is, cutting up with his friends and being as immature as possible. And that's hard to do. And then on top of that, just be one of the best prospects I've ever seen come through the ranks. So he's just, once in a lifetime, and I don't really know. There's really no comparison I can make to him. That somebody just popped up and just had so much hype around him right away. It's pretty incredible. And he's a good kid.
What do you think? What do you think we can expect from him in his rookie debut next year? Do you think, would you be disappointed? Do you think, the court of public opinion will be underwhelmed with his performance should he not win at one of the road courses?
I think that's the thing, Spider. I think he has to win a road course race. No, he doesn't have to win a road course race. He has to contend to win road course races because that's what he's going in the car for. I think you look at it this year, and I don't think Daniel's had a rough year, but a lot of it really hasn't been his doing. He's been caught up in some stuff, caught up in some wrecks, and he's down there, whatever, 25th to 30th, somewhere there in points. I think that Connor has to kind of. And who knows? I don't know what to expect out of Connor on an oval in a Cup car. It's hard to say because I can't stress enough how hard the jump is from Xfinity to Cup, especially now that the Xfinity guys don't get to race against Cup guys as much as they used to. You look at a kid like Riley Herbst, excuse me, is obviously struggling a little bit. But that's just because of what he's jumping into. You look at him, Jesse Love, when he gets in the RCR car. I talked to Jesse a little bit. He said, "Man, I thought Bristol, I'd have a shot to go there and run really well." He goes, "I got out there and I was like, holy cow, I am outmatched right here." So the ovals may be a challenge for him, but I really think he'll be in contention to win damn near every road course race. Him and SVG going heads up with each other. So I think that where the expectation needs to be. Be able to, put yourself in position to contend on the road courses and then just learn on the ovals. And I don't know. Like I said, I hate to doubt this kid because if I say he might struggle on ovals, he could go out and win the second one. You know what I mean? So it's just put yourself in contention and I think that he's in there to win races and get them into playoffs.
Yeah, someone remind me to add Connor Zilisch to my Daytona 500 card for next year. But outside of Zilisch, it seems like it's been pretty quiet on the silly season front. Seems like it might really only be the Zilisch-Suarez move that we're privy to. What can you tell us about that? Have you heard any other rumblings? Obviously, I don't expect you to break news here on our show, but feel free if you want to.
Yeah, no, there's really, I think it's going to be a quiet year. There's really, Denny's just re-signed. Nobody is really looking for drivers. All the top teams have their guys locked in. All the Gibbs guys are locked in. All the Penske guys are locked in. All the Hendrick guys are basically locked in. All the 2311 guys are locked in, God willing. So there's nowhere to really go. Maybe Legacy, whatever happens with that charter with Rick Ware, maybe they get somebody, but there's really not a lot to move around. I think maybe Xfinity and Truck, you might see some stuff move around there, but there's just not a lot going to be. There's nowhere to go in Cup, really. Suarez is like the name now that's out there. Like, where does he end up? And I don't know that. I think it's almost going to be like, does he have the opportunity to take like a mid-level Cup deal or a good Xfinity deal? And that's going to be something I think is probably just up to him, whatever he wants to do. So I think that's the name you look at for maybe the next big shoe to drop. But I don't think there's really a lot of silly season news going to be, coming anytime soon.
So the ceiling is pretty much non-existent for a guy like Connor. I saw SVG won in a Legends car on an oval this week. Somebody was quoted as saying SVG is what Larson fans think that Larson is. I thought that was pretty profound.
Yeah.
SVG is what Larson fans think that Larson is. Where are you with SVG, and how do you think at his age, with his skill set, which is a very impressive one, where do you see his career kind of going in NASCAR, and will he be as big of a disruptor going forward as he has already been? Because I hate the guy, and I'm hoping that Connor basically runs him out of this fucking country. Go ahead.
So obviously another world-class talent on road courses. He's getting better. Cars are getting better for him on the ovals, but I don't ever see him, just being a consistent top 5 guy on ovals. I think his niche is going to be go out there and win 3 or 4 road course races every year, or at least be in contention to do that. And then, like you said, become a disruptor, because if you look at it, he's going to go into the playoffs with, 25, 30 playoff points. That'll get him through a round, as long as he doesn't have any big missteps, doesn't have any big wrecks or anything like that. That's going to get him through the first round. And then, okay, he gets to the second round. Well, guess what's in the second round? The Roval. So now if he goes to the Roval and wins the Roval, now he's in the Elite 8. Oh, and then guess what's in the Elite 8? Talladega. So, anything could happen there. So this guy could find them, without really being super fast and super competitive on ovals, he has a path to get to the Final Four without, really without being in contention. So like the disruptor is a perfect word for him because he can make that happen. It's, but to long-term wise, obviously he's already, I think 36 or 37 years old. So I don't know how many years he's going to be doing this, but I mean, he can go out there and win 3 or 4 road course races every year for the next 5 years, probably, I would say.
Right now, the current playoff format has 13 drivers with wins, 3 in on points. Do you think it'll end this way? Do you think we'll have 13 drivers, or do you think we'll get another unique winner that punches their ticket into the playoffs?
Well, it's obviously always hard to count out Daytona. With Daytona, it's almost like as people that were racing on the cut line, we were racing to get up a spot because you just have to bank on Daytona being a new winner. And if it's not, then you're extremely lucky and you move on to the next one. So it's hard to say, Daytona is I feel like is going to be one. And then there's races that, like I don't think anybody expected us to win this week. Iowa is a place, it's kind of similar where we've only been there once with the Cup car. So it's, you don't know what to expect. So it could somebody, you never know, like a Hocevar or somebody. There's plenty of guys with plenty of speed that can get the job done if they find themselves in the right position. So I hope not. Here's what I hope happens. I hope, we only get one new winner, and it's Riley at Daytona, and then Tyler can make his way on points, and then we put all 3 of the 2311 cars in there. Because I told we were talking about this for like 3 or 4 weeks. I said, what's going to happen is we're going to be on the damn cut line, and Riley's going to win Daytona and knock us out.
Yeah.
I was like, honestly, I see this coming a mile away. So thank God we got that win out of the way.
Add Riley to my card for the Coke Zero Sugar 400, and I got Connor Zilic for the 500 the following Daytona race. But yeah, that would be awesome. And we saw the way Riley drove. That save he made at Daytona 500 this year was insane.
Yeah.
I would certainly welcome his addition to the playoff picture. That would be great.
That kid's such a good kid, man. He's
the best.
Riley is very, very gracious with us. He's always been that way. And we consider him extremely likable as well. I don't know if it was you on a call. It might have been you and Bubba where you had said, watch out now. And he had 2 cars on him. And it's almost like you were giving him a warning that he could get moved by one of the cars. And the 2 cars were Hocevar and the one. And I think he said, which one? And you were like, both. Like when you're a spotter and you see certain guys coming up on your guy, what driver makes your asshole pucker the most when it comes to that?
That's a great question, Large.
We're hoping that, Larson, the greatest driver in the world, wouldn't fuck Bubba like he did Allgaier just the day before. But as a spotter and having the historical perspective again as you, who makes Freddie Kraft's asshole pucker more than anybody else in the world?
The 2 guys, listen, everybody, I think the most popular answer in the garage would probably be Hocevar. But we've never had any problem with Carson on the racetrack at all. Thank God, knock on wood. But, for me, the guys that drive me crazy are Logano and Ross. And it's not because I think they're going to do anything wrong. They are just so fucking hard to pass. It's like you get to them and you know that you're getting ready to lose laps worth of momentum because they are impossible to pass. And by the time you do get around them, the guys that are right in front of them are now going to be, an extra straightaway ahead of you. So you see them, you line up next to them on a restart or you're running them down with a better car. You see them guys and you're like, fuck, how are we got to figure out how to get around this guy? As far as coming up on us, like Bubba is another one. Bubba is probably the answer to that question for some people as well, because he has a lot of that in him where he's going to make your life really difficult. So I know when people are coming up on us, we're getting ready to race our ass off because Bubba's not going to lay over for anybody. So I don't get really concerned about that. It's the guys when I'm catching them, when we're catching them, and I'm like, this is going to be impossible to get around this guy at this point in the race. This is going to be a pain in the ass. So those are the times maybe I get a little more pucker factor, but there's never really anybody that I can think of coming from behind. I'm like, oh, this guy's going to wipe us out.
So as we're headed to Iowa, one of the things that we do every week is we check the weather. And by the way, you got fucking lucky.
God almighty.
Iowa has been hot as dick lately. And I think it's going to be in the 70s for you when you're up on that roof, right? Is Iowa traditionally a tough place to spot from? I believe they have you out there on a black tar roof somewhere, right?
Yeah, we are on a black tar roof. And I was looking, when we were in Indy, I'm like, what's Iowa's weather right now? And the heat index was like 113 degrees. And I was like, I'm going to die. This is perfect. So we got on the plane and I'm bitching about it on the way home. And one of the picker guys from JGR was like, holy shit, it looks like it goes to 70. Like, it's like one more day of 90s and it goes right to like 75 degrees. I was like, boy, this is luckier than the Indy win. You know, I'm more excited.
Exactly.
I'm more excited about 70 degrees in Iowa than I am the Brickyard at this point. So, thankfully, it looks like it's going to be a pretty nice weekend.
So you got to say, this has been a pretty good week for you. You're looking into 70 degrees and a slight breeze for the job this weekend. You just come off of winning a crown jewel. I mean, all you guys really need to be firing all cylinders is maybe a charter, right? I mean, that would be kind of cool to not be one of these disgraceful fucking open teams, you peasant. For the guys who are casually watching Iowa, and obviously a lot of people don't have a lot of experience watching cup racing there, what can we expect to see on our TVs this weekend at Iowa, the quality of the racing?
You know, it's interesting because, like I said earlier, we've only been there once, and they with that repave, they've kind of made it a 1 or 2 lane racetrack. So it's going to be typical like we saw last year, a little bit difficult to pass, but very easy to bust your ass, honestly. So restarts are going to be a little hairy. I think every restart that I went back and watched last year, somebody got free and kind of screwed each lane. So, it's very easy to get loose on entry and kind of stack everybody up. And maybe you see some guys bust their ass this week, which is, not that I want to see anybody really get hurt or anything, obviously, but we want to see these guys spin out. We want to see these things be hard to drive. These guys are supposed to be the best in the world at stock car racing. We want to make it as difficult as possible for them. So, it's fun to see racetracks like that where you see some guys on the edge and maybe stepping over the edge. So you may see a little bit of that this weekend. The cooler temperatures probably will help the grip level, unfortunately. So, the racing purist in me maybe would prefer the track temp to be up around 140 so you can see them slipping and sliding around. But my fat ass on the roof would much rather be 75 and breezy. So, there's a little bit of double-edged sword there. But hopefully it's a good race. Hopefully we see some passing. We see it maybe try to widen out a little bit to where we can race a little bit more. Because that used to be one of the most racy racetracks when Xfinity went there all the time. I mean, you could run that place top to bottom. It's got the progressive banking where each lane has a little bit more banking than the one below it. So if we can start to get that where that fresh pavement wears out and we match the rest of it where we can start moving off of it, will be something to make the racing a lot better. And we'll see. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but hopefully we stick with it long enough to where we can start using up all the racetrack.
Fantastic. That's exactly how I would have previewed it. Freddie, it's a pleasure having you on the show. Door Bumper Clear DBC drops every week on Monday afternoon. It's one of those podcasts that not only focuses on Cup Series and Xfinity, they go down to a lot of the lower series. I remember when I had met Carson the first time, she was like, "Oh, would you like a cup shirt? A car shirt?"
Car shirt.
And I was like, yeah. She was like, I was like, "Yeah, I'd love one." She's like, "Cool, $34.99." I mean, they push it through. They're very, very aggressive trying to get some shine to the lower series, and I respect the shit out of that. Tune into DBC every week if you guys would like. Make sure you tune into the race this week and pay attention to the spotter for the 23. It's Freddie Kraft. Thank you so much for coming on, Freddie. We'll talk to you soon.
Ooh, that leg move! That leg move was. You can't do that on the way out, bro.
I had broken this leg a long time. Hold on, I'm gonna put it behind my head. Hold on, Spider, get over here.
Is this real? That's wildly impressive, Large.
Yeah. Imagine I got stuck there and I had to do the rest of the thing. You know what I mean? Coming up, our next guest, Steve Phelps. I'd be like, "Hey, Steve, what's going on? Think about those charters." Freddie, thanks so much for coming on, man.
I appreciate it.
We're close friends, always around the track. Nothing but being gracious to Rubbin is Racing. So we appreciate your support.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Freddie.
I appreciate you guys, and I will see you soon. Tell everybody else I said hey.
All right, so that was Freddie Kraft, the spotter for the number 23 car, Bubba Wallace, and the recent winner of the Brickyard 400 in Indianapolis. We appreciate him coming on, and tune into But if you have only one NASCAR podcast to listen to, make sure it's this one. But if you have time for a second one, give those jerks at Door Bumper Clear a whirl. They're on Dirty Mo Media, and their stuff drops every Monday afternoon. We're going to Iowa. Trucks are off again, Quigs. Trucks
must be nice.
Isn't it?
Nobody works anymore.
Somebody had once said maybe it was PFT. Did he say that the best position in football is the backup quarterback?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you just kind of hold a fucking clipboard, get paid $1 million. Trucks don't seem that bad for me. They seem to get a little time off. They pick back up next week in Watkins Glen. Xfinity is going to be on Saturday at 4:30 with the Hy-V Perks 250. I wasn't familiar with Hy-V. It's a grocery store. The name is a contraction of the last name of its two co-founders, Charles Hyde and David Vredenberg. So Hy-Vee comes from that. Patrick Emmerling from the Wheel and Modified Tour is back in an Xfinity car wheeling the 07. Outside of him and the aforementioned Austin Dillon, filling in for somebody who Quiggs had called stupid earlier. Ross Chastain is also going to be back. He'll be in the number 9 for Junior Motorsports, and you can catch all that action on the CW. That's going to be Saturday at 4:30. And then Cup is on Sunday with the Iowa Corn 350 laps on Iowa's 1 mile oval with 2 different ages of asphalt on the surface, which is interesting. Coverage starts at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. And again, coverage is shifting over to USA this Sunday. This will be just the second Cup race at Iowa. Blaney won the inaugural event last year. Joey Gase will be in the number 66 for Garage 66, driving a King of the Hill paint scheme that he will also be repping in Saturday's Xfinity race. I don't see that too often where the same driver goes in both series and basically in the same paint scheme, but I included the King of the Hill paint scheme on it. Looks cool. I've never really watched King of the Hill.
Me
I don't know
neither.
if you guys are fans of that thing. I just never watch it. Are you a big King of the Hill guy?
Yeah.
Moon?
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved King of the Hill back in the day.
And the least surprising thing on this podcast today, Moonhead was a fan of King of the Hill. What do you think of this paint scheme then? Big Hank
I think
Hill.
it's awesome. I've always wanted to see this crossover. Like I've seen the people have done King of the Hill cars in iRacing, and I'd always wanted somebody to do it in real life. So now they can.
Yeah, I think it's pretty. I think I do a pretty good Hank Hill. That boy ain't right. Like that's not a bad one. That's all I got out of that though. 4 NASCAR Cup Series regular races remain. 3 drivers are currently playoff eligible based on points: Reddick, Bowman, and Buescher, and at least one more is within striking distance in Ryan Priest. 4 races left: Iowa, Watkins Glen, Richmond, and Daytona. I said we'd get to 16 winners a couple of weeks back. We need to have 3 new winners in the next 4 weeks. I'll stick with it and say that we do it. Do you guys think there's a chance that we get a full 16 field for the playoffs with just guys who have won races this year?
I don't.
Nah.
I think at best we'll get 2 new ones, and that would be probably Ty Gibbs at Watkins Glen or, Michael McDowell, AJ Allmendinger, one of those road course guys. And then Daytona would be another opportunity for pretty much anyone. But, yeah, I don't think we'll get 16.
So you think Iowa and Richmond will probably be a little more chalky?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Three's too much to ask for in 4 races.
3 new and 4 races. By the way,
I think we get no new ones.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's more likely than getting 4 new ones.
Right, no new ones as opposed to 3 new ones in 4 races. Do we have a shot at this, Moon?
Man, I don't know. I don't think so. I think, yeah, I don't think so.
I'm the king of terrible takes today. There hasn't been a Ford winner since the 1st of June. So we went through all of June, except for one day, and all of July without Ford sniffing a checkered flag. I don't know if that breaks this weekend, but the only way to find out is to catch the action on TV or feel the thrill in person. Secure your NASCAR seat today at NASCAR.com and feel the excitement. All right, let's make some picks for Iowa and then get the hell out of here. Picking the Tires is brought to you by DraftKings. Nothing says summer like long days, clutch plays, firing off a few bets on the game, all with DraftKings Sportsbook. As the season heats up, so do the bats, and DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with live betting, home run props, odds boosts, and more. Whether you're chasing dingers or jumping in mid-game, there's always action to be had. And if you never bet on baseball before, it's easy. Pick a guy to go yard, hammer some live odds mid-game, or just ride with your squad and hope for the best. No spreadsheets, just vibes and dingers. And here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Rubbin. That's code Rubbin for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. DraftKings is our sponsor, and only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Who wants to go first here to pick some winners? Spider, you've been on a little bit of a hot streak. Do you want to lead off or back cleanup?
I'll lead off.
Okay.
And I really don't know what to do with this race this weekend. I feel like there's a lot of guys that are kind of right around the same odds. It seems like DraftKings loves Hamlin, Larson, Bell, and Blaney are their 4 favorites. Everyone outside of there is pretty sizable difference in odds. So my gut is telling me one of those, but I'm going to start in a different direction. I'm going to parlay Chase Elliott and the Atlanta Braves to win the Speedway Classic game. I think It's going to be all ATL. I think Chase Elliott could win. The Braves, obviously his team. He's from Atlanta. I like that one. So that's going to be on my card.
I like that.
And then outside of that, I'm torn because I want to take Blaney, who's won here before. We have very limited data on this track. He was the one winner. But then again, you just mentioned they haven't won since June 1st, and that's a little concerning. But then I look at guys like...
He's from Ohio, right?
He's from Ohio, yeah.
Reds and Blaney parlay.
Yeah, maybe, honestly.
Cover your bases.
I don't hate that as well. I feel like the state of Ohio pretty much... Well, I shouldn't say that. They have Cleveland, but a good portion of them root for the Reds as well.
He would be a Cleveland fan over a Cincy fan.
And then I'm looking at guys like Bell and Byron, who... Byron hasn't won since the Daytona 500.
Right.
Bell hasn't won since he pulled off 3 in a row early on in the season. So I'm a little bit skeptical of them. Fuck it. I'm going to take Ryan Blaney plus 550 to right the ship. Ford gets back victory lane. This is a track he's done it at in the past. So yeah, I'm going to take Blaney plus 550 on DraftKings, and then I'm taking Chase Elliott and the Braves parlayed. And I don't have the exact odds on that right now because obviously that game is not posted yet. So we'll see once the MLB slate comes out for Saturday. But those are my picks.
Love that. I'll go ahead. I have one parlay, 4-pick parlay plus 49.60.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's threading the needle. Starts with a race winner. Race winner, Kyle Larson. I think he's the favorite, but I like him a lot. And then a top 5 finisher in Joey Logano at plus 130. I got a good feeling about Joey. I think he did good in his last race here. Not a ton of data to go off, but I kind of went off this race, and then I think I used Richmond as like the best comparable track. And then 2 top 10s are Kyle Busch and Josh Berry. So that.
Oh, you like Josh Berry?
Yeah, I like Josh Berry a lot in this. Just to get a top 10, but
yeah,
that's
I like
play.
that Berry top 10 pick.
That may be a good one to spin into a pick 6 too.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah,
here.
and like I said, big pick 6 winners last week. Despite Bubba stealing the win, we had Larson and Denny to finish top 5. Both of them did it, and then I also had Larson over 14 laps led. I think he led way more than that. And then I had Denny fantasy points, which was a gimme because he started dead last in the backup car. So he just cut through the field. And
that's what you get points for passes.
Yep. And difference in finishing and starting position. So check out the Pick 6 app. You can sign up in my Twitter bio. There's a link. $5 wager will get you $50 in credits if you're a new customer. And there's some great NASCAR opportunities. So I implore everyone to check it out. What do you got, Large?
Moon, do you have anything that jumps out at you?
So Barry's speed, I like Barry for a top 5, and then RFK, specifically Ryan Preece for a top 10, and then I also liked Blaney, but Spider covered that. So really the RFK cars seem to be getting better, and this should be a good track for those guys, specifically Preece. So I like him for a top 10.
I was going to go Preece on a top 10, but I wound up taking Bubba just on a follow through plus 130.
Wow.
I'm looking at the Ford thing, Spider, like you were just looking at too, and I see like the multiple grooves. I kind of like Logano here, and Logano is plus 275. Plus 275 is the top Ford. So if he can just hold off one teammate basically, and then the RFK guys that Moon had just mentioned. So I'm going to go Logano top Ford at plus 275. Bubba top 10 finish at plus 130, partially in respect to Freddie coming on. I'm going to take Tyler Reddick to right the ship, but with a win, I'm having him as the race winner at plus 1,800. I'm also taking him as a top 5, plus 225. And, man, I got a lot on my card. I took Christopher Bell as the winner, too, to right the ship, too, at plus 500.
Your card's starting to look like one of my cards.
So I have Reddick to win and Reddick top 5. I have Christopher Bell to win, Bubba top 10, and Joey top Ford. So a little bit spread out all over the place, but I have a lot to root for. And again, all of those lines come via DraftKings, And if you go on there, there's some real interesting stuff, including their own betting props, like the Ford stat they throw out towards the beginning of this podcast. That's it for us this week on Rubbin is Racing. I think we're banding about our next race. Spider, you'll be at Richmond?
Yep, headed to Richmond, and then it sounds like we got at least one more Cup race in the works for the rest of the year. So still trying to iron that out. What's that?
Did you get that? It might be the Roval.
Yeah, I think it'll be the Roval. That's what it's sounding like. So that should be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun, but yuck. All righty, guys. Good to see everybody again. Enjoy the races this week, and we'll see you next week on Rubbin is Racing.
Peace.
Peace.